Well, hello once again, fellow flight simmers and cockpit builders. I'm back once again with another video. This particular video nobody has asked me for specifically, but I thought it would be kind of helpful to try to explain. So what we're going to be talking about on this video is working with a SimVim configurator. And before we go and get started on that, there's a couple of things that we need to explain in order to try to make it easier to understand what I'm going to be talking about during the course of this video. So the first one that we're going to explain is a digital input. So digital inputs are like push button switches, toggle switches, rotary switches, and encoders. So basically it's anything that you can press in your cockpit to send a signal into the Arduino for it to do something in the simulator. A digital output is, for example, like a single LED or a serial LED driver, like the DM13A that I just did a video about recently. Analog inputs are like potentiometers, whether they're rotary or linear potentiometers, and also photoresistive sensors, which are like light sensors, so that you can send a signal into the Arduino depending on how much light they're sensing. Okay, there's also special outputs. Some of these are pulse width modulated devices, or PWM, and these can only be assigned to pins number 2 through 13 and 44 through 46. And you can also have a pulse width modulated device driver on pins 30 to 37 only. And LCD displays can only be connected on pins 20 and 21 and also 30 through 49. 7-segment displays can be connected directly to the Arduino only on pins 30 to 37. And the Max 7219 LED driver can only be connected on pins 30 through 37. This is not the same as a Max 7219 display. This is only the LED driver, which is the same chip they use to make those displays that are pre-built. So obviously, in order for this project to work, the first thing you need to have is an Arduino 2560 Mega, and that's the one that everything in this project is based on because of the number of pins that are on that Arduino, and also because that's the one that Vlad and Roman wrote the software for. And the daughter boards or other control boards, I guess you can say, or those are like the servo board, the stepper boards, the matrix, and the LCD controller board. And I will be talking a little bit more about each one of those. Now, when we go through the data table, you'll notice that there is a whole bunch of letters over here, depending on the function that you select. So we're going to go through each one of those first, and then we're going to go back to the table, to the pins, and I'm going to kind of go through the whole range of them from top to bottom in groups so that we can explain what you can do with each set of pins. So as far as these letters right here that you can see, um, the first one that we're going to talk about is the A, like the one I have here on the air temperature zone selector. So an A is an analog potentiometer. So you can connect those on pins A0 through A15 only, because those are the analog inputs on the Arduino. And that can be, like I said, it can be not only an analog potentiometer, and it can also be a light photoresistive sensor. The B, like the ones we have here, are push button switches. And those are basically anything that you just press once. And it doesn't have to be a latching switch. It could just be a momentary contact. Now the E, the encoders, like we have here on the zone 1 cockpit temperature control, those are rotary encoders, and they can also be a set of buttons, so basically it will be the same function that the encoder does, either up and down or left or right. But the encoder, you just do it by rotating the knob. With the switches, obviously you would do it by pressing the switches multiple times. Okay, the G is a gauge. I don't see, there's one right here. So pressure in the oxygen bottle, that's a gauge right there, a G. And those right there, they can be made up of either a stepper motor, a pulse width modulated device, or a servo. I almost forgot there, even though I have it written down. So that's to make gauges. And those are the three devices that you can use. Okay, the N, for example, this one here for the passenger chemical oxygenator remaining time in minutes, those are alphanumeric LCD or OLED displays. So those are a little bit more, I guess you can say, technically advanced displays. Okay, the P is a pulse width modulated device. I don't see any here, although I know I have seen some. I just don't remember what section of the configurator table I saw them. But those are pulse width modulated devices. The R are rotary switches, like for example right here and right here. And the number behind them tells you how many positions you need. So this is a 4-position switch, rotary switch, or a potentiometer with an A, and this one right here is also a 4-position switch because they're both for the window wipers, so they're both the same. The S is a stepper motor. I also don't see any here that I can tell right off the bat, but normally you would find them under indicators is where you would find a lot of these things. And a lot of these things right here, oh, here's some P's right here. And a lot of these things right here, like the ones that have the N and the G, obviously, like I said, the N is a alphanumeric LCD or OLED display, and the G is a gauge. When you click on those, you'll notice that you can select a lot of different things, including LED single digital output, a bar LED indicator, a 7-segment display, a stepper motor gauge, a pulse width modulated device, a servo drive gauge or driven gauge, and an alphanumeric LCD and OLED display. So basically anything that has N and G, you can pretty much select anything in order to make that instrument or annunciator. Okay, and as we already said, the S is for stepper motor. The T with a small t, like this one up here for the wiper on and off switch, is just a 2-position switch with it, which is off and on. And the big T, the capital T, is a 3-position toggle switch or a 3-position rotary switch. So that one would normally be an on, off, on switch. Or in my case, I have one for the APU of the 737, and that one I have is a on, off, momentary on spring switch for the bottom part. So, but the bottom line is it's a 3-position switch. Okay. Now you don't have to remember and memorize all of these things because when you click on the pin that you want to use, if you are not selecting the correct pin for that, basically the configurator will not let you put that on there. It'll tell you that that is not, the correct pin for that particular function that you want to use. So you don't need to memorize this, but I am going to I wrote some notes about this and I'll put that on my Google Drive and I'll just share the link in the description below so that if you want to download it and look at it and have it as reference, then you can do that. But if you go through all the pages in the website, you can pretty much see all of these details there. That's where I got them from. So we're going to start talking about the pins. Okay, we're going to start a little bit backwards. We're going to start with pins A0 through A15, which are the analog input pins on the Arduino. On these pins, you can connect pretty much anything digital, So you can have any digital inputs. You can have an input multiplexer, an output multiplexer for 7-segment displays, an LED driver, serial LED driver that is, and you can have one of them be an analog multiplexer. You can only select one of them to be an analog multiplexer. So for example, if I select this one here, then when I go try to click on another one, the analog multiplexer is no longer an option. So you can only choose one of them to give you 16 inputs for analog. Okay, now we're going to go back up to the top and we'll start on pins number 2 through 19. So pins number 2 through 19, you can also use for any digital input. You can put an input multiplexer board, an output multiplexer board for 7-segment displays like the TM1637 and the MAX 7219. And you can also have serial LED drivers so that you can hook up 16 LEDs using one pin. So that's pins number 2 through 19. Now, if you notice, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 have different colors. Those are actually specialty pins that can be used for the servo controller board, a stepper controller board, a key matrix controller board, and an LCD controller board. And I'll be talking a little bit about those a little bit later on. So now we go to pins number 20 and 21. These pins right here, you can also use any digital input. You can have also input multiplexer board, an output multiplexer board for 7-segment displays, LED driver, and you can also have an LCD display. So these are a little bit more useful in the way that you can also put an LCD display directly to the Arduino using these. That was number 20 and 21. Now number 22 through 29 are not usable. Those are for the system bus. So as you can see, they're not even here on the table. You cannot even select them. So those are they're reserved for the system bus or the data bus. Okay, pins 30 through 37, as you can see, they're yellow, so they're also a little bit special. These are the most versatile of all the pins. So you can connect any digital input to these also, and you can have an input multiplexer, an output multiplexer for 7-segment displays, a serial LED driver, an LED driver based on the 7219, a 7-segment display directly to the Arduino, an LCD display, or a pulse width modulated driver based on the TLC 5947 chip. So pretty much you can do anything you want with these yellow pins right here. So use them wisely. Now pins number 38 through 49 are like pins 20 to 21 so that they can be used for any digital input, an input multiplexer, an output multiplexer for 7-segment displays, LED drivers, and LCD displays. So they're, I would think, the second most useful pins that there is on the board. And that was pins number 38 through 49. And finally, number 50 to 53, these are pretty much exactly like pins 2 through 19. So you can put any digital input on them, input multiplexer board, output multiplexer board for 7-segment displays, and serial LED drivers, like for example the DM13A. So that's what each one of these pins does. Now, if you remember, I talked a little bit about these colored ones here, the pink ones, the green ones, and the blue ones. So the blue ones are to be used with the matrix, the key matrix, and the stepper motor. So first of all, we're going to talk about the key matrix. So the key matrix allows you to use a Arduino Uno or Nano board and a 16-channel multiplexer board so that you can create a matrix of inputs. So these are push button. Basically, each one of them will be connected to be a push button, and that way, like if you have a lot of things that you want to put, like for example the CDU, on airplanes for the FMC, you can have a lot of keys, so you can make the whole alphabet and everything else that's on that instrument, and you don't have to waste that many inputs. You can get up to, I believe you can get up to 176 contacts or nodes, using one of these. So that gives you quite a lot of extensibility here. So that's the key matrix board. The second one is a stepper motor. The stepper motor controller also uses a Arduino Nano or Uno board, and you can control up to 17 or 19 stepper motors, or 8 to 9 of them if you're going to put a zero setting sensor on each one of those. So this also multiplies your available outputs, so that you can use a lot of stepper motors. Now that I'm here, I want to say I have not tried any of these, like the key matrix, the stepper controller, the servo controller, or the LCD controller. I have never played around with them or tried them, so I don't think I could be much more help. The only thing I wanted to do is just point them out and, let you know that you can use it. But all the information is here on the website. So if you go to the website and look it up, you'll find all the information that you need to get them going right there. All right, so the next one that we're going to see is the servo. The servo controller is also based on a Uno or a Nano board. So using one of these servo controller boards, you can hook up to 16 servo motors to your home cockpit setup. Okay, so the last one is the LCD controller board. This one allows you to multiply the available pins to control a bunch of LCD displays using an Arduino Uno or Nano board as well. So the only pins that will need to go to the master board would be the serial number 3 transmit and receive lines. So those are the ones that go to those special pins that have the colors on them that I talked about earlier. And once again, the website has excellent diagrams on how to wire everything up. So if you follow the pictures there, the diagrams, it should be quite easy to do. But like I said, I haven't tried it yet, so I can't really offer any more help about that. So that's pretty much it. I think that there's a lot of things, that we can do with this configurator and with all the available options. It's actually pretty incredible that, they're able to get all this functionality out of an Arduino. It's kind of amazing to think that before, I mean, even now, companies that have a lot of automation and everything, and they use very, very expensive um, PLCs, the programmable logic controllers. And this Arduino here is kind of like it's one of those, because Vlad and Roman have, wrote this little software plugin, and they're able to get it to do all these different things, which was, I mean, it was probably almost impossible a few years ago before, all this started coming around. So this is great, for hobbyists and for cockpit builders and probably many other things, but particularly for us, this benefits us greatly for them to be doing this. So that's why I always recommend, I always suggest, that go visit the Patreon page and, go support the project, because they're doing an amazing job, making this freely available to everybody. Yeah, if you become a Patreon, you get to have the latest version of the software, before they release it to the general public. But it's not only that, at least, you'll be pitching in, for all this hard work and all this amazing stuff. And I am in no way affiliated with SimVim Cockpit. I'm just a fellow, virtual pilot that started using this software, and I'm blown away by it. And even though I'm not taking advantage of everything that it can do, just, with my simple setup that I'm doing, it's just opened up the doors, to do all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah. Like I said, I just highly recommend that you go show your support and pitch in a little bit, on the Patreon. You don't have to pitch in a lot, just whatever you want. I have a couple more videos in mind that hopefully I'm not going to promise a timeline of when I'm going to release them, but hopefully pretty soon I'll be able to get them out there. And I think that's about it. I think I'm really running out of ideas now about what kind of other subjects to make videos on, because like I said, I haven't used a lot of the other stuff, so I can't really be much help in those situations. But anyways, well, thank you guys for watching and see you guys on the next one.